Hello everyone, I hope you are enjoying our nice little change of pace here as we slow down and focus on how to start your paper, and of course that's using the outlining process. So this week I want to give you just a couple of helpful hints and go through a little bit of that outlining process with you to make sure that you're starting off on the right track. So to start, why do we outline? Outlining is considered the final step in the pre-writing process. Now you may be wondering what a pre-writing process is. Don't we just sit down and write? Well, we can, but it's actually usually more effective to go ahead and do a little bit of research before you start writing, to craft your thesis statement before you try to organize your support. That's all considered the pre-writing process. And the final step of it is to create your outline. So here are a couple of functions and ways that an outline will help you with your writing. First, it will give you a better sense of organization. It lets you categorize your main points and put them into paragraphs that are in an order and a structure that makes sense. Now, along that same line, you're able to better organize your support. It helps you to ensure that your paragraphs and ideas are fully formed and supported, that you have the right evidence that you need there, everything. And then finally, it's going to help you with your focus. Think of your outline as a kind of map for your paper. It will make it easier to navigate, and as you write, it will make sure that you don't veer off on tangents or get lost somewhere or even stuck with writer's block. An outline is an excellent way to make sure that you're on topic, that your audience gets your full message, and that everything is as powerful as possible. Now, you may be wondering, how exactly do we outline? And that's actually a good question. There are many different forms of outlining, and you'll find that different forms work better for different kinds of paper. For our purposes, there are going to be 4 main key points that you need to make sure you have. And these are stated right here. You need to write in complete sentences. Don't just bullet point this. It'll actually make it easier for yourself if you do have a little bit more in your outline than just a bullet point list. Next, you want to include a clear and labeled thesis statement. That way you can look back to it at a glance, know exactly what the point of your paper is, and make sure that every paragraph is tying back to that thesis. Next, you want to cover every point of your paper through summary. Now, you don't have to write every paragraph and every sentence, but you do want to know what each paragraph is going to talk about. You want to have all of your ideas stated there, even though you don't have to write them all out at this point. Summary is key. Next, you want to include any sources that you will be using, any external sources, at the bottom of your outline. And this will be kind of the start of your works cited page. And the more time you spend on this, the better you incorporate it, the easier it will be to format your works cited page later. All right, so if you have looked at the examples in Canvas, this should be pretty familiar to you. This is an example of an outline for the persuasive essay, and as you can see, they've got a clearly labeled thesis here. They go through points but are speaking in full sentences, and they've got their introduction, their conclusion, all of these points that are going to be support, and that's good, that's great. And then right here, they've got works cited with their source here already formatted. Everything looks good. If this is all the structure you feel that you need for an outline, this format will work perfectly. But if you're like me and you like seeing just a little bit more of a structure for your paper, there is an alternative form. Now, this is my personal favorite form of outlining because I like the hierarchy that it creates and how it lets me see that I have clear sections in my paper. So my 5 main sections are my introduction, my first point of support, my second point of support, how I acknowledge the opposition, and then my conclusion. And then within those, I have it broken down here. What is my hook going to be? Will I ask a question? Will I use a quote? Here's my thesis statement and what's going to tie the paper together all throughout. Then with the first support, I know from my outline that I'm going to pull information from the American Pediatric Association. And then points A, B, and C explain how I'll use that and what I'll actually be saying. Then for second support, I see that I'm going to use a personal experience and that I'm going to first talk about that experience and then list what I learned from it to tie it back to my thesis again. And then acknowledging the opposition, remember we want to do this very briefly, we want to acknowledge the opposition and immediately refute it, saying, well, some people think this, but they're wrong because of this, this, and this, and tie it back to your thesis. And then your conclusion, you're going to want to summarize and support you'll summarize the support that you've listed and echo your thesis statement. And then points A, B, and C, explain how I'm going to do that, how I'm going to lead into it, and then summarize, and then echo. And then once again, that works cited is right down here. So I prefer this kind of structure for myself, but as I mentioned, if you don't need this level of structure and you think you can make do with this is completely acceptable. It's completely up to you as long as you're hitting those 4 main points that we've talked about here. Now, you may be wondering how I'm going to tie this into a spiritual thought for the week. And actually, after giving it some thought, I was seeing a strong correlation between our need for outlining and our need for order in our own lives. So for instance, just as your outline helps you stay on track, helps you give your best and have clear messages and clear thoughts, providing a little bit of organization to our lives can help us better invite the Spirit. It'll help our homes feel more like temples and places where the Spirit can dwell, and it will help us in just about every aspect of our lives. So I love this scripture from Doctrine and Covenants 88:119. It says, organize yourselves, prepare every needful thing, and establish a house, even a house of prayer, a house of fasting, a house of faith, a house of learning, a house of glory, a house of order, a house of God. So just as we're organizing and working on organizing our papers this week, go ahead and think about what you could be doing in your life and in your home to better invite the Spirit, to better organize your time, organize your lives to accomplish this goal. And my prayer is that you will be successful, that this will be helpful to you, and that you're enjoying this part of the writing process so far. So thank you for all of your hard work. I look forward to seeing your outlines, and if you have any questions, as always, please don't hesitate to reach out. Have a great week.